Alright. Guess we're ready to go. So, hi everyone. I'm Tim, and I'm gonna be showing today one of my favorite speedruns, Super Castlevania 4, for this theoretical Phantom Marathon benefiting Dave. So, if you like what you see, if you're good to do so, please consider donating. He's a really good friend of mine, became one of my best friends over the past couple of years, so I'm really glad I'm able to help out here a bit showing this run. And yeah, I'm gonna get started in just a tiny bit. And since we all know what's Dave's favorite food, hopefully it's gonna be a nice blessing for the run. Alright, and we're gonna be able to start in just a tiny bit. So the run starts when we gain control over the character, which in this case is Simon Belmont. It's the same Belmont as in CV1 and CV2. And for this speedrun, main thing is, or the key for the speedrun is damage boosting and health management. That's two big things for the run. And also in this stage, which is a little bit of an introduction stage, we're gonna pick up the only sub-weapon we want for this game. Like, there's a couple of sub-weapons. It varies in Castlevania games. Sometimes the Holy Water is the better one. In this case, it's the cross. You want to pick up the cross and you want to keep the cross throughout the entire run. There's a couple of spots where you can lose it and get it back quite easily, but there's spots where if you lose, you die, you lose the cross, and getting the cross back and building up the multiplayer, which I'm going to explain in a tiny bit how this works in this game, it can be quite costly. So what I'm doing here already is we are doing a lot of damage boosting. And what we just picked up is our very first multiplayer. So this is the 2 multiplayer. It means we can have 2 crosses on the screen at the same time. We only have 1 more, which makes it so we can have 3 crosses at one screen. It's pretty essential for the run, because if you ever seen whip-only runs or low percent runs, it is insane how fast the bosses are melting if you're using the triple cross. It's super OP in this game. So we got the triple already, taking quite a few damage boosts. So there are some stages or some screens in this game when if you do damage boosting correctly, you might end up at the end of the screen with just 1 tip of health left. So you really have to take care about health, and if something goes wrong, you really have to adjust and see if you can take 1 more damage boost or not, or you might have to skip some boosts here and there. But so far, pretty normal stage. Like I said, it's pretty much your introduction stage. You get your sub-weapon, you get introduced to a couple of enemies that you might see quite a lot throughout the run. First boss, and you can already see how much damage the triple cross does. It's insane. Gonna be doing a little pizza slice here. So another game I'm running is Belmont's Revenge, and I remember when I started running that, it was super weird for me, because in this game, and actually in a lot of Castlevania games, you are pretty used to like getting rid of getting rid of the hearts for the countdown. That's what you do in this game, and then you have to grab the orb. And in a game like Castlevania games, just it's a super troll orb. It just flies all the way up. You don't need to grab it. So this stage has one of the most chill tracks. Makes it like a super comfy stage. There's not a hell lot going on, but this stage is part into 3 parts. You have this part here where for the first half the hands were a problem. It's complete RNG if the hands come out of the ground and touch you. Then you have this little swamp area where the biggest issue might be the frogs. You have this little annoying frogs jumping around, and they can do all sort of jumps. They can do high jumps, short hops, everything to really be super annoying. So get rid of 1 frog, let's see what the other frog does. Yeah, super nice frogs today. And for this stage we actually don't have a boss, we have a mid-boss, which is Medusa. gonna see here just in a tiny bit. And then after the mid-boss is the last section of the stage. And then comes everybody's favorite stage. Stage 3 is one of the longest stages of the game, I would say. Here as well, you can see how much the triple cross really does. So if you've ever seen or done a low percent run of this game, it's amazing. You actually have to fight this boss for once. Whereas just with the triple cross, you throw a couple of crosses, do some whip combinations, and most bosses are just dead. You just blink and you miss it. So for this particular screen, what we want to do is we want to go with the flow. When the water goes to the right side, it pushes us forward, saves a couple of frames. But once it goes to the left side, you want to try and jump as much as possible to not have to stay in the water and get pushed back. This is also one of the screens where if you've done everything correctly, yeah, you just end up with 1 tip of health. It can be quite scary if you're starting out. Also super scary is this stage, because this stage some days is just... If the stage wants to troll you, it does. It just straight trolls you. There's so much that can go wrong in this stage. Like I said, it's one of the longest stages and it's really, really execution heavy. You might not think with a stage that early in the game, but this one has a lot of tech to do. Big thing for this first part of the stage is the Mudmen. The Mudmen are complete RNG as well, so they can give you some good patterns like we just saw for the first guy. Second guy was not too nice. But if you don't take less, if you don't take more than 6 tips of damage, that's okay. Means you can do all the boosts on the next screen. If you take more than 6, however, you have to skip a boost, and that was kind of trolly. That stalactite can fall down sometimes. We are still not 100% sure why it happens. But that was some unnecessary damage we don't want to take. So we're doing a little bit of a backup here. It's a nice marathon save strat. Because usually the thing is when you boost up this bone dragon and you go for the ring snap, doing the ring glitch, the little ring glitch, it makes it so the game doesn't know where to put Simon's Ride. So when we go up and we get into the hitbox of this fastball, it won't hit us. We're just able to get past it, even though we meet the hitbox of the fastball. Whereas if you don't take the damage boost from the Bone Dragon and you try to ring glitch and you go up and you hit the fastball, it's still gonna hit you and knock you off, and then you're gonna die. So what we did was a nice little backup, going to the right side and then going over again, grabbing the ring. Because normally what you're supposed to do with these rings is just like this, is a little swing from one side to the other. And by doing the ring glitch, you put Simon on top of the ring, which you're not supposed to do in the game if you play it casually. So hopefully we're gonna see another ring glitch just here. Nice. So yeah, really good to take a damage boost from the first Bone Dragon, because for this second ring glitch, the Bone Dragons might be a bit of an issue sometimes. It really depends on how fast you scroll the screen up. And if you don't scroll the screen fast enough, you might have a second Bone Dragon spawn on top of the ring, and then you can't do the ring glitch. Really nice example again for how good the triple cross is. Because if you do this enemy on low percent, let's say low percent, you have this like stinky old leather whip. You're not even allowed to grab a whip upgrade in a low percent run. And if you get to fight these guys, the Vipers we call them, if you get to fight them a bit longer, you can actually see how wanky the hitboxes are. Like sometimes you hit them with the whip and the whip goes right through, doesn't do any damage. Background wise, this is one of my favorite stages. You can see these little skulls in the background following you all the way. It's a really nice little detail. Another thing I haven't mentioned yet, but you can actually see it here, is lag reduction. So I didn't do this part optimally, which means we got a lot of lag. The more sprites we have on screen, the more lag we get. And this is also another stage where we have this nice mid-boss. So in this stage we get a boss at the end, which is Coronat. You do it the other way around. Coronat is Ton of Rock. So they had a lot of fun with names for this game. And the one we just got past is Pure Wexel, which if you spell it the other way around, it slicks you up. And yeah, lag reduction, pretty big thing in this game too. There's a couple of screens, stage 9 or the last stage, there's a bat bridge where bats are following you, the bridge is crumbling, and it's just so much happening on screen that the game lags a shit ton. So you really want to try and reduce the sprites that are on screen. And this is also a nice, or not so nice, it depends on if you like it, but this is quite a showcase of the Mode 7, what Mode 7 was able to do. For me personally, it's just a bit too much Mode 7, but I think it's really nice to see. This whole rotating room, the boss we get to see, Coronat, is also Mode 7. And we have a pretty big section later on, Chandeliers, which is also Mode 7. So for this screen, we really want to try and keep going and not deal with too many skeletons, if possible. Because if you get hit somewhere, if you get knocked back, you might get a lot of additional spawns here, and this lags the room like crazy. So let's set up, see if we can get zip. Ooh, might be a bit early. No, we're actually fine. Nice. So what we just done here is one of the bigger tricks we have in a game called the zip. Saves about 10 to 11 seconds depending on which strat you do, which setup you do. Actually, Nice Guy came up with a... Oh, nice, we just got stair bossed. That's awesome. Hasn't happened on that part of the screen for me, okay. Always getting something new, but health was pretty scary now. Let's see if we can fight this boss properly. Ooh. Let's not talk about a good fight. Let's just try to survive. Oh yikes, that's their boss. Haven't really talked about that, but stairs in this game can be a bit trolly sometimes. I think every 5th pixel we have on the stairs is a dead pixel. So every 5th pixel of the stairs you can actually press up, which you need to landing on the stairs, and you can still fall through. Like sometimes, even if you do everything right, you get your up input, you're just gonna fall through. So you really want to make sure that you land on the golden pixels for the stairs and not on a dead pixel. So yeah, the zip that we just did saves about 10 to 11 seconds depending which setup you do. Nice Guy found a really nice comfy method for the zip that doesn't require the crosses that you saw me doing. But we also got a fresh new zip by Richter Shade. Richter Shade came up with a zip that saves about 4.5 seconds over the old one, but it's really, really precise, really hard to do, so I rather went for the old one for this. And this stage, there's really not a lot going on if you're like talking speedrun. The main issue if you play this game casually is the timer. For this stage, you actually have a really tight window to make it. If you don't know where to go, if you don't know what you're doing, this is not a super comfy timer for this stage. And this is stage 6. This is where difficulty ramps up in this game. Enemies take more damage. We get to see a couple of new enemies we haven't seen before. And we also get to see the chandeliers, which I'm not sure if you might take it safe or not. Let's see how it goes. But that's also one of the top strats. If you want to go for a really good top time, or let's say 32, you might want to go for the 1 cycle chandeliers, which is really precise to do. But yeah, another example for mode 7 in this game. It feels a little bit weird if you play this casually. And I'm honest, I still have days where it scares me a tiny bit to be on the chandeliers. Sometimes it feels like somebody threw a banana on there and you just slip off a chandelier and die. All that can happen on runs. So we also have these little chandeliers falling down, which we might want to dodge. And these ectoplasms, you really want to make sure you kill them immediately, because they can stay on screen a long time and follow you and lag the entire screen like crazy. Also trying to get rid of these Trump ghosts, how we call them. Or some of us call them. Trying not to stab us again. But music-wise, this is also a really nice stage. Like, this game has a lot of really nice tracks. This one, if you just get past this coffin, it's gonna follow you and might knock you off, but we're just gonna do a precise jump around the hitbox of the coffin, and it's just gonna stay where it's at. It's not gonna follow us around. This is what we call the Skyway. Skyway has 2 parts, this corridor and the next one. And the big thing about this is you really want to make sure you kill all these skeletons and not get a candle cancel. Which is sometimes if you hit a candle right before you hit an enemy, the cross goes through the candle. It counts as a hit for the candle, but it won't hit the enemy right after. That's why it's called candle cancel. It just cancels out the damage, so that's also a bad thing sometimes. These dancers you see in the background, that's also complete RNG. You can get some pretty troll patterns, or you can be completely fine. It really depends what the game gives you. Woo! Super trolly here. Yeah, for this boss too, if you have to fight them with the whip, that fight actually gonna take a bit. For the triple cross, you just do a nice little setup, have a visual cue for when you start whipping, and that's gonna get rid of the boss pretty quickly. This setup I was just doing, I was part of trying to get rid of this guy, which I didn't because my whip was off. But this one was found by 2Cat. 2Cat was running this game back in the day, and he found a nice setup for this knight, because this knight is complete RNG too. Sometimes he can walk to the left side and you can just get past like we did. Or he's gonna walk back at the right side. If he walks to the right side, you have to kill him to get past him. So if you do this setup correctly, that it just failed, you're just gonna get rid of the entire RNG part. Nice little book jump here. So book jump is really more like a thing that might be messing with your mind. You actually have quite a comfy window. It's 7 frames to make that jump on a book. But it's quite scary to set it up because you have to stand at the very edge of the book. If you don't, you might not make the jump because it's really tight. And if you try to go too far, you're just gonna slip off the book, which is also... This is one of the worst spots to die in the game. You lose your cross, you have to do the entire first screen again. And that's really, really costly. It's almost about a minute time loss if you die to the book jump. But there's also a really nice cross you can do to lock you in place so you don't fall off the book. But it only saves 3.5 seconds, so it's not really a big deal if you don't go for it. So here we're having Sir Krakul. We are trying to manipulate him in a way so he does this axe first. He can actually throw the axe to the ground and cause a little fireball to appear, which is slower, so we really want him to throw the axe the way he did, and just get rid of him. What he can do though sometimes, that's also complete RNG, he can go for an attack where he throws up his sword, and while he's having the sword up, he's having a little invisibility shield. So he can't take damage while the sword is up. So you can hit him with the crosses, with the whip. He's not gonna deal any damage until he takes the sword down. So stage 8, everybody's favorite. Yeah, as you can see, I jumped a little bit early on this one. It was actually a visual cue, but I felt I was quite early on that one. If you want to do this first screen correctly, you want to try and boost off that eyeball. And try to keep the iframes until past this other crusher, so you can just do a jump and skip all these crushers. Go for early 1 cycle on the screen. So we trying to go for the backup now. I jumped a little bit late. You want to jump when Simon's first foot is like past, yeah, barely past the platform. Just gonna take damage here, trying to not get star bossed again. And we're gonna get our cross back at the end of this bridge, which is not a super big deal. Like, this is a spot that's okay-ish to die in. I mean, not for PB attempts, obviously, but it's not as bad as if you would have died to, let's say, the book jump in the screen before. So we're gonna go for some nice, comfy wall meat. Where I put that here, thank you so much. I don't know how Simon can eat that without getting a food poison, but it's working, so we're not questioning that. So got the cross back. Now we're trying to build up the multiplier for the cross. This is actually worse than just dying and losing the crosses. You also have to get this multiplier back. That's huge. So trying to dodge that, and let's see if we get a nice Vegas bridge today. Vegas bridge is called for a reason, because if you boost onto this bridge, you really don't have any reaction time. You just have to go and hope for some good RNG and hope for a good reaction. Ooh, we barely made it. That was a bit of a scary one. So it's not optimal for this boss fight because we only have the double cross. Still okay. Not gonna lose too much time to this boss, but nice orb. Yeah, Vegas Bridge can be quite scary. So usually what you can do is you just get to the last platform and you wait for the next cycle of the bridge, and then you can just, you know, you have a bit more time to react to the pattern you get from the Vegas Bridge. This stage is one of my favorite stages personally. it's it's my favorite track in the game, and it really looks super nice. Another thing is, if you, you don't do that for the speedrun obviously, but if you play this game casually and you pause the screen, the ghosts you see floating in the background, they still keep going. It's a nice little detail. Like this stage is really, it's so detailed, it's full of stuff, I really like that. So since we've been talking like earlier, this is one of the stages where you really want to take care of how much lag you get. If you do most of the stuff you can do optimally and save a tiny bit. Like let's say for these ones, you really want to make sure not to land on all of them. Not done the best job here, but if you try and skip some of these gold platforms, not causing on a lot more lag. So coming up is what I call the Scrooge Mcduck room. It's a nice little gold pit, so you want to make sure you get these rings right, because if you don't, you might end up in this pit and you see this bone dragon shooting fireballs high and low, and sometimes if you end up in this pit, it's really hard to get out of it again. However, if we would have died again here, you saw these coffins up here and these holes that suck you in. The very last hole would have had one of these secret rooms. You have a total of 3 secret rooms for this game. This is the last one. You have one secret room that might be a bit easier to access in stage 3. You have one in stage 6 and you have the one here. And for these secret rooms you get a refill of hearts and health and everything you need to continue. But the thing for these secret rooms is you can only get there once in a play, or like let's say you have to go for a continue, you game over, then you can go to secret rooms again. But if you go to one and you die again, you can't get there again and get the cross and the hearts and everything back. Okay. Can already tell this is not gonna be a first good cycle. If you get a lot of hits in, you want to try and get 22 hits in. Maybe I can count? No, I can't count. Math is impossible a lot of times. But if you do this first phase correctly, you want to try and kill the bat when it's super low on ground. Because you saw it breaking into 3 parts. If the bat breaks low on ground, you can just like step back and do 3 crosses immediately and kill it super fast on a second phase. And there's actually a soft lock right here. So if you would still be moving when a game tries to take control of Simon, there's a chance you just soft lock here. So whenever you lose control of the character after the spat, really try not to move. That's pretty much the best way to avoid it. And every Castlevania game needs a clock tower, so there's that. Plus we have a really nice version of Bloody Tears for this one. So what I was trying to do here, but didn't quite work out that well, with the skeleton is if you kill the skeleton by going up, you can just despawn the teeth on a gear, which makes it lag a lot less. Nice little fast ring here. Normally you would have to wait a cycle to grab these rings. But there's a certain time you can jump and still make that first ring. Doesn't save a hell lot, but it's a nice little time save. A little fast climb here. Oh, but missed the ring. So we better kill this guy to be safe and not get hit by his axe. Wasn't in the right rhythm for the swing, so we're gonna take a little meat of shame and go this way. also means we're gonna skip this ring. So if you do this room correctly and you get a the entire fast climb, as we call it, it saves a lot time over just having to wait for these rings. It's also a thing that's not supposed to happen. You should really, you're not supposed to grab the ring through the ceiling, like we tried to do there. And of course, since it's a marathon, we get one of the nicest patterns we can get here. You can get this boss down in a one cycle, which is only possible if it spawns here on the left side or on the right side. And on top of where it spawns, it can actually do 2 attacks too, like that's complete RNG. You can have the mommy spawn or use bandages, or you can have it use fireballs. And then we got a middle spawn, which means guaranteed 2 cycle. Plus we got the bandages, and that's one of the most scary spawns for me still. Like sometimes it's super easy for you to be off position, and then one of these bandages to just knock you off, and then dying to the mummy is also a pretty dumb spot. There's no way you get your cross back in time, and then you would have to do this entire section without the cross. There is one backup cross on the climb of the stage, but it's a bit scary to get, plus when you get it, it's really hard to build up the triple right before Slogra. Taking a little damage boost, skipping the stairs. But that bad wedge was also a nice example of lag reduction in this game. You really want to try and turn around every now and then and try to kill some of these bats to reduce the sprites that are on screen. And this climb was one of the hardest things for me to do as a kid. I still remember, I mean, I already struggled in stage 3 when I was a kid, trying to grab the rings, trying to make the climb. But stage A and stage B is really hard to do casually if you're not used to this game. This stage in particular can be pretty mean because we were talking about stairs and stair bosses earlier. This stage, or this climb, has a really common stair boss that we luckily already passed. But if you get this dead pixel on the stairs, it's pretty bad for this part of the game. It's so far looking like a good climb. Let's see, getting a bit of a slow platforms here, but that's okay. Trying to grab one more extra height. And now it's time for Slogra, or like some of us call him Trollgra. But if this guy wants to, he's really good at trolling you. Or reignite the quick kill. So what we're trying to do for this guy is we're trying to overlap the cross damage by throwing multiple crosses at once. Trying to have, take the damage from the multiple crosses. But if you fight this guy casually, he can be quite a pain. I mean, he can be a pain for the speedrun as well, but if you fight him casually, it's really hard because when he comes down, he's still in iframes. It's a bit of a weird window for when you are able to hit him again. And he can also do dashes at you, which is complete RNG. Usually he's diving at you or dashing at you in the second phase. It's quite common and rare for him to dive at you in the first phase, but it can happen. If he does that, it's a guaranteed cycle on top of what we do in the speedrun. Even if you get a optimal fight, you just have one more cycle to do just because of that dash. A little messy of a fight here. So usually what you want to do is you want to time your first set of crosses So it goes back and forth and kills him on the way, or damages him on the way back. So you only have to do like 2-3 whips and kill him when he's still on top of the screen. Like, ideal would be to kill him somewhat in the middle leftish. It's still good if you kill him on the right side, but I was completely messing up the crosses here. And what we don't do is, because we are quite fine on hearts, is there's also a little stash and invisible stairs. So if we would have jumped down and jumped again to the very left side, there would have been a stash that gave you all the hearts and the cross back and the triple cross multiplier to really put you in a good shape to kill Dracula here. So if you don't go for the stash, what we want to have is at least 21 hearts. 21 hearts is the bare minimum we want to have to do this fight. Trying to time this one. For this last cycle, he spawns. His spawn is kind of dependent on where Simon was at. So we're trying to like do a couple of jumps here. There's a couple of different setups for this, but I try to do 7 jumps and then turn and do the crosses to make sure that we get him to spawn at a spot where it's useful for us. But yeah, that's a final orb coming up in just a tiny bit. That was Super Castlevania 4 for you. Hope you enjoyed it. It's a pretty nice speedrun. We got a bit unlucky here and there, and I messed up a couple of things because multitasking is just impossible sometimes. But it's a really fun run, and I'm glad this was was my first speedruns that I ever learned. Was the first community I joined, because it's been one of the nicest people I've met in this community, and everybody's always willing to help each other. So if anybody wants to learn this run, feel free to join us, feel free to hit us up. I hope you still like the run, even with all the hiccups here and there. If you enjoyed it, if you're good to do so, please consider donating. Like I said, Dave became one of my best friends over the past couple of years, and it was really sad to have to see him having such a traumatic and damaging year, which he's still suffering from. So I really hope that with this little event we are doing here, we can help him out a tiny bit at least, and make things a little bit better on his end. So thanks everybody for watching, for joining this, for spreading the word. Every little bit helps, so thank you guys so much. I hope you liked the run, and good luck to the next runner.